recording this?
Yes.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right, so let's get going. Welcome everybody to Powerful Partnerships. My name is Bobby Umar. I'm here with Carmelia Ray, and we are excited to have a really awesome edition, particularly to kick off International Women's Day, which starts tomorrow. And we're really focusing on powerful partnerships, particularly for women. So how to choose a mentor, how to be a mentor. We're hoping to get women empowered to find the right mentors. We're also hoping to have women to actually be mentors for folks. So we're looking forward to having that conversation. And with that, I'm here to support and empower voices and women voices. And one of the most powerful women voices I know is my friend Carmelia Ray. So Carmelia, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness, thank you for that. And it's so funny because, well, first of all, to those who are new to our channel, Bobby and I host Powerful Partnerships on LinkedIn Live and other platforms. And we're actually on Clubhouse and Twitter and YouTube, I think all at the same, and Facebook all at the same time. So we're so happy that you're watching wherever you are. I am a matchmaker, been a matchmaker for over 30 years now, and also just self-defined entrepreneur. I have a lot of different projects. I work in media, television, collaborations, all of that stuff. And today, why I'm so excited, as I am every week, is we're going to be talking about how to choose a mentor. And our guest who will be coming is Dayo Akronade. I actually met her about 4 years ago in London, UK, at a dating conference, and she is also the owner of a company called AfriClick. And during the pandemic, she launched Wisdom app. And for those who are not familiar with Wisdom, Wisdom is a one-to-one social audio app or mentor app designed to connect mentors like myself and Bobby and so many other experts to listeners and engage in one-to-one dialogue versus Clubhouse is the one-to-many, which most people are using. And Dayo has an interesting story, Bobby, which is why I think she's an incredible guest here for today, is that she created Wisdom as a result of the lack of mentorship that was available to her. And so what a great, birth of a company is when you're creating a solution for your own problem, right? I mean, those are always the best kinds of situations. So anyway, Bobby, back to you as we wait for Dayo to come in.
Yeah,
and we
thanks.
have another guest at the end of the hour as well. So go ahead, you start and I'll let Dayo in here.
Absolutely, thanks so much. And again, if you're joining this conversation, we are here live on LinkedIn live stream. We're also streaming on Twitter and Facebook, but we're focusing on comments on LinkedIn. So if you are here and you're listening in, comment below, let us know where you're from. Engage us and ask questions. We have Carmelia here as well as myself. Dayo is coming in as well to share her knowledge about Wisdom and that app, and also about mentorship. So, this is about Women's History Month, International Women's Day. We're trying to promote and support and champion women mentors, getting women mentors, helping women get mentors, and getting women to be more mentors and to give back and bring people up. So if you have questions on this and how we do this, we'd love to hear from you. I actually ran a space this morning on Twitter, basically to empower women's voices. And we went for 2 hours. It was crazy. It was awesome. But some amazing people came on stage, talk with women in tech, women in NFTs, women in the corporate space. We had such an incredible conversation there. So I see Deanna's here from NOLA. Thanks for coming here. We're going to do this for half an hour, and then we're going to go to Clubhouse to finish up the conversation. So you can actually come up on stage in Clubhouse and ask us questions. But we can also take questions in the feed here. So with that, we'd love to welcome Dayo to the conversation. Dayo, please introduce yourself.
Happy Monday, Carmelia and Bobby, and to anyone else listening in. So my name is Dayo Akronade. I am the founder of Wisdom, and Wisdom is actually a new social audio app, and our mission is to democratize access to mentorship. So in essence, we use social audio to connect mentors to knowledge seekers. So I think given that Wisdom is all about mentorship, and this is with Women's History Month, and then with myself being a female tech founder, thank you. I think I'm in the perfect place.
Yes.
Wonderful. Carmelia, why don't you go ahead and I think let's start with the first question. I mean, again, I'm more the host here, and I'm your guys are the voices. I'm going to champion you and support you. I'm going to mostly be learning. But what I'd love for you to teach us is, let's start with the big question, which is, what's stopping women from finding mentors and becoming mentors? Maybe talk about that a little bit. Go to you, Carmelia, and then we'll go to Dio.
Oh, okay. Yes. What's stopping women from becoming mentors?
Or seeking mentors. Yeah.
Oh, seeking. Okay.
Well, it's both, right? I mean, we're trying to seek mentors. We're trying to also get women to be mentors. I think both of them maybe are a challenge. Yeah.
You know, I think number one, when we do look at mentors, and maybe Dio has specific statistics on this, given that she's launched a platform for that. You hardly see, or in the past, maybe it's changing now, you hardly see a lot of access to female mentors. I know a lot of women entrepreneurs, when they were growing up in their industry, they were looking for female leadership or female mentors, but really there were more men in high powered positions, more men in C-level roles than there were women. So that is one reason why I think some women might think, oh, can I be a mentor in my field? I mean, mostly men did that. So I'd like to think that we're beyond that. But having said that, Bobby, I think one of the things that hold women back perhaps is not giving themselves permission or recognition that they actually are able to, and that they are fully capable of that. The second thing, for women who might be afraid of hiring a mentor, I don't know if there's enough knowledge or information about what mentorship does. And I know, Bobby, I literally invested in my first professional mentor only when I entered entrepreneurship in 2013. I think it was in 2013 or 2011. When I became an entrepreneur, I was like, I need to hire a branding coach. I need to work with somebody who can help me elevate my brand when I didn't have a brand, right? And I hired a top celebrity branding person who became my mentor in branding. And from there, I have not stopped investing in it. But Bobby, I just think that, and I'll go to Dio next, and it's a great question, that women either don't believe they can be a mentor, and for women who aren't hiring mentors, is that they might not think that they should, or they haven't invested in themselves before. And I think everybody needs to go through that. If I'm going to grow, then I should invest in myself, because I really think self is the best investment of any business. So thank you for that. Dio, what say you about Bobby's questions in terms of women who might be wondering about becoming a mentor and what would stop them, and then for women who are seeking mentors?
I would really, Carmelia, I echo your points thoroughly. I think oftentimes with women and mentorship, so I think when we look at mentorship from the lens of diversity, it is sometimes often helpful to have a mentor. So say, for example, if somebody has a particular gender identity, women mentorship, it might be also that you're from an ethnic minority group. And oftentimes maybe, and this was certainly my experience as a Black woman in tech, which was that there were times when I needed to tap into mentorship, but I needed to ask questions that were particularly related to my identity and how I presented. And that was then impacting particular decisions I was having within the workplace. So it wasn't particularly easy. For example, if I was experiencing microaggressions within the workplace, I didn't really think I could speak to maybe a senior white person about it, because they wouldn't understand. I wasn't comfortable. It was a difficult conversation. I needed to speak to somebody who had walked in my shoes, who was a few years ahead, who would be like, okay, yeah, that also happened to me. And, this is how we're going to do it. So I think oftentimes maybe when women are struggling to access mentorship, it could be that because they might be more comfortable with a female mentor, they might be more comfortable with a mentor that maybe relates to them in terms of ethnicity. I think also to Carmelia's point around, because Carmelia, you said investing in yourself, and I love that you speak about that very kind of boldly in that, because sometimes I think also individuals, and particularly women, sometimes, we might not think we're worthy of investing in ourselves. We've seen the statistics around when there's a job application and a woman will feel that they need to meet 100% of the criteria to apply, whereas typically a man, I believe it's only about 60% of the criteria. So I think sometimes as women in business and in the world, we do hold ourselves to a very high standard. And sometimes we think, oh, am I worthy of a mentor? Am I even worth, paying for that? A lot of people think that they have to be like a super successful CEO with like a 6-figure business before they should have a mentor. But the reality is, how are you ever going to get there if you don't seek the help at the earlier stages? And then the last thing I would just say as well is that I find sometimes senior successful women who are in positions when they can impart mentorship, sometimes they're really overworked and really overstretched because they have so many women reaching out to them saying, mentor me, mentor me, mentor me. And sometimes what I find with women in business is that you're not just a business person, you are a woman in business, meaning that they are also expected to take on additional work in terms of mentoring for other women.
Yeah, thanks, Dad, for all of that great perspective. And there's so much there I have so many more questions for you all because I think this is a great conversation. And again, people in the audience, if you're hearing this, retweet it, like, comment, share your thoughts. We'd love to get your questions. Let's support us and tag women leaders you think would be great mentors. Let's get more people involved in this conversation. I want to ask both of you, and I'll start with you again, Dio, first, which is who are some mentors for you? Like have there been strong women mentors in your life?
Okay, so obviously I'm going to start with family and home because I think those are the first impressions and the people around you. So I would say absolutely for me, it was parents, but I'll also hold my hand up to say that I think there is, of course, a layer of privilege there because it's not necessarily every individual who was born into a situation and a family where they are in a position to mentor. So are the family present? Are both parents present? And then even if you have both parents present, and I'm going to speak frankly, not every parent may or may not be the right mentor. And they may or may not be the right mentor over an axis of various things, right? Whether it is professional or, do you know what I mean, personal or character or things like that. So I would say to me, primarily it has been family, but I just think it's important to call out that not everyone has that privilege. And I think that is where organizations that are set up and initiatives like this to, in essence, increase access to mentoring are important. And I'll just give like an example. Sometimes that there are individuals, when it comes to maybe, I'm thinking back to younger people now, teenagers, early 20s, you need work experience. You need to work out, what am I going to do with my life? If you're in a fortunate position where your parents' network or even your neighbors are professionals, oh, I think I want to be a lawyer. Oh, that's okay. Just speak to so-and-so because they are, right? A lot of that mentoring, I think, happens within our communities. And if you have that access, that's wonderful. But what about the people who are in communities where maybe they don't have access, right? If you can't see it, are you aware of it? Do you believe, that you can do it? And, and that's where with our mission of wisdom, it was something I really wanted, to do, was to democratize access to mentoring. So saying that, look, if you don't have a lot of maybe lawyers or artists or, I don't know, doctors in your neighborhood or that let's make somewhere, or for all professional matchmakers in your neighborhood that But if you can at least tap into people like that and be inspired and understand what they do.
Thanks so much for that. I really appreciate that perspective. And I think that Carmelia, you're back now. Can you answer the question?
I'm back.
Awesome. So let's hear your mentor. Let's talk about your mentors.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I mentioned to you that one of my first mentors is Lisa Stedman. She became a mentor when I wanted to launch my brand. As with Dio, I mean, of course, my mom in my life has been a big mentor throughout my entire life. I think it's important that you follow the models in your personal life that you want to aspire to. And then professionally, Bobby, I can't even count the number of women that I have looked to as a mentor in my industry and field. and including some professionals that I've worked with to, grow business. I know when I was thinking of launching a course, I hired a woman, Lauren Tickner. She is a young woman, even though, she's younger than me, she can teach me a lot about funnels and sales and things like that. So also, you never know how your mentors show up. It doesn't mean that just I'm older and she's younger, that she doesn't have something to teach me, right? So I think it's really important when you are looking at mentorship, because the topic is, how do you choose a mentor? For me, I want to see that there is some kind of proven track record, that this person is a fit for me on a personality wise. Because if I can get away with stuff, I don't want you as my mentor. If I'm hiring you and working with you so that I improve and change. I think sometimes mentorship can be challenging and difficult for the mentee, because we sometimes don't want to hear what mentors say, because they force us to look at ourselves in the mirror and make changes. So I also want to work with a mentor that I know isn't going to put up with my BS. And that BS could also be, I like to use BS as belief system, right? What I believe. There's what you don't what you know you don't know, and then what you don't know what you don't know, right? So that's the missing gap between me hiring a mentor and working with one, is to be able to, open up my perspective, remove any preconceived notions, and really help me in the area that I'm coming to them for.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And again, if you're listening to this conversation, we're looking for people to share their thoughts and comments. Tell us where you're from. Tell us if you have any questions on mentorship, particularly for women, and if you're a woman trying to get mentors, every woman trying to be a mentor. How do we encourage more women leaders to be mentors? Because I think we want to empower more and more voices. I think that's really important. And Deanna says, love that BS, the BS versus the belief system. Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. Let's talk a bit more about the partnership. I mean, Carmelia already kind of talked about that, but Dia, let's go to you. When you think about mentorship, I mean, in the framework of a partnership, can you maybe talk about that and the importance of that? Are you there, Dia? Okay.
Yes, no, we just had a ding. We're saying mentorship from the view of partnership.
Yeah, because this talk, this series that Carmelia started is about powerful partnerships, and so we see mentorship as a partnership too. So I just wanted to see if you had any thoughts on that.
Not particularly on that speaking point, no.
No worries. How about you, Carmelia? Any thoughts on the importance of the partnership piece of mentorship?
I think if we're defining what partnership looks like, because even when you enter a mentorship agreement, when you're hiring, right? Because then I want to make sure, as I mentioned earlier, that it does feel like the appropriate partnership or relationship. There's an exchange of service. Even as a mentee, I'm not going to be a great fit if I don't listen to you or I don't have respect for you as a mentor. And as a mentor, if you are coaching in a way that is misaligned with the person who hired you to coach them, because there's a personality clash or a style clash, I just think that it's important that as we've talked about in previous episodes about how to choose a partner and what questions to ask, these are the things that you probably want to consider as you look at mentorship in a partnership in a way. And what I'd love to maybe discuss amongst the three of us is where mentorships, where you meet these mentors or people in your life for whatever reason, they just draw to you, they give you their time, they give you their energy, they give you their, experience for free. I've mentored a lot of people, or when we've fallen to mentorship, and now we're in a position where, you're able to help someone. So I'm wondering for you too, when in your life have you taken on a mentee at no cost or because you wanted to, and why did you do it? I'd love to hear from Dia. We're doing International Women's Day. If you want to share a story as well, Bobby, please. Dia, have you played that mentor role to someone before?
Sure, absolutely. Initially, I would mentor through organizations like the Wild Hearts Foundation, where I would go into schools that were quote unquote failing schools, meaning schools that by the government standards were not meeting the performance that they should. And I would, sort of speak to schools and talk about careers in STEM. I also mentor through an organization called WCAN, which is an African Caribbean professional women in the city. And for me, I was very much motivated to do that because I do still remember, I would say perhaps through me being when I was a teenager and the early stages of my career, where I really needed mentorship, but it wasn't available within my network. I was a parent of immigrants. My parents didn't particularly have a career or a track record, within the UK, with them being Nigerian. So whilst there were maybe good people in my community, there weren't a lot of professionals that I could tap into. So I'm very much driven today to say, well, let me try and be the mentor that I needed when I was younger. And, so to your point, in terms of good places to look for mentors, I think perhaps if you're lucky through education and if your school has a program, that's a wonderful way to facilitate. And of course, around the motivation for me building Wisdom, where we use social audio to connect knowledge seekers to mentors. That piece is all about just trying to make mentorship really accessible. So we're saying that all you need to do, excuse me, is to download an app, sign up, say what you're interested in, and be connected with people like live, real time, and having conversations. Because the problem that I find that today, people try to hack LinkedIn for mentorship. And I'm not sure that this has happened to you, Bobby, or happened to you, Carmelia, where sometimes if you go through your direct messages on LinkedIn, I have a lot of messages that I will never have time to open, unfortunately, from people who are either asking for career advice, or sometimes they just ask, can you be my mentor? Which we know is not a great way to ask to be a mentor, but regardless, I have those questions and I've asked around, this is anecdotally, and what I find is that a lot of experts, a lot of high profile people on LinkedIn, they have a problem where their DMs are full of people asking for advice, asking for mentorship, but there's no way to filter through that mailbox. Like, who are you? Do I even have time? And that's where I think, there's an opportunity for us to use technology to, try and help more people access mentorship.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of people, when it comes to getting a mentor, I mean, the messaging, you can't just ask someone to be a mentor. It takes time to develop that relationship, build that trust. And, there are lots of ways to apply to be mentors through alumni organizations and corporate situations, for sure. But I think that I get messages all the time. In fact, actually, we were promoting this event and someone tweeted me saying, hey, so how do I apply to be your mentor? I was like, well, that's not what this is about. It's a live stream about mentorship. We want to hear from people. But, for me, and also the people want to meet you every week. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, I have a mentor and I meet them once or twice a year. Like, it's not, it's a large commitment for them to particularly people who have very complicated schedules. But, even getting them once or twice a year, I think I'm really grateful for that. If you're able to mentor someone even more than that, I mean, I've mentored people, particularly usually in situations where I know they're having trouble. So a perfect example of this was I spoke at an event about purpose and legacy. I'm a speaker about leadership, and I was very passionate about helping people fight for their lives and the life they want. And this woman came up to me, and she was a young woman, and she came up to me and she was kind of trembling and saying, "Your message really resonated with me." And I'd seen her before, but I didn't really talk to her. But she burst out and started crying and about her situation. She was in a halfway house with her son, a little boy, and because she was in an abusive relationship. And she said, "I don't know where to go. I don't know. I feel lost. I feel stuck. What do I do?" And so I decided then and there I'm going to mentor her and I'm going to work with her. And I brought her to all the workshops that I run for free. I brought her to all my conferences and I sponsored her to get in there for free on her behalf. And I pitched and networked her for the next year and a half to all the things that I was doing to help her get on her feet. And now I'm really happy to say that she's in a much better spot. For me, that's where the passion comes in terms of helping people who really need that voice, need that support.
Wonderful. Bobby, I have one more guest to join us. She's going to be coming in right at the tail end. And
surprise?
No, everything's a surprise. Yay!
I love it.
But Dio, we also have Deanna. She's from Deanna Wellness. Hold on, I'm going to put her in the video. I'm going to put this for. And so essentially, Deanna helps. She's a bit of a mentor, mentee. She's a coach. Hey, Deanna. And she specifically, let me just go over her bio real quick, works with women, takes them from, did you say laughter to, can you say your bio, please, Deanna? I forgot what it was.
So you take them from trauma to triumph so that they can see that there's laughter after the trauma.
Laughter after, that's right. Laughter after the trauma. So she helps women in intimate partner violence. It is International Women's Day. We're celebrating women. And Dio has a platform, Wisdom, the Wisdom app. Are you familiar with it, Deanna?
So I've heard you talk about it a couple of times, but I haven't joined it yet. And I was just out there Googling and searching. And so I'm going to connect.
Well, you're going to join it today. And Dio, please share with Deanna as well as our listeners about, what you wanted Wisdom to be and the importance of mentorship for you so that our audience can know if they're a fit for Wisdom, either as a mentor or as a mentee, someone coming to the platform to really find mentors and great advice. So Dio, over to you before we wrap up our session.
Okay, awesome. No, Deanna, thank you for your interest and definitely check Wisdom out. Our website is at wisdom.audio. It's really simple. We're in the Apple Store or search for Wisdom. And yeah, I mean, in essence, Wisdom makes it really easy for mentors and for experts to go live, give a talk, share knowledge about whatever it is they want to speak about. And we have a range of topics. So things like love and relationships, digital marketing, parenting, politics. There's a full range of topics. And in essence, Wisdom lets mentors go live, give a talk, and we have a timed feature where people can sit like in your guest spot and they get a set time slot with the expert to ask their question and to get mentored. When the timer expires, it moves on to the next person. So in essence, Wisdom lets you as a mentor go live, share your knowledge. It gives people time spots that they can ask questions. All the talks on Wisdom are recorded and they're saved down against your profile. And that's great for your profile building. So for anybody who is like a public figure, a mentor, an expert, Wisdom lets you have a home where the best of all of your audio talks and your mentoring, it's saved in one place. And you can share that link with anyone. Anyone can access it. They can even play it through the web browser. So you don't have to have Wisdom downloaded for people to hear. And what I just find is if you're a busy person and if you're in the business of brand building, now like people will ask me a question and I'll send them a link. Oh, listen to this talk. I've already talked about that. I'm not going to explain that to you here. And, of course, Wisdom, we're just a few months old. So our next major milestone we're pushing for is creator monetization. How many times has somebody said to you, can I pick, well, sometimes they ask you a question or can I pick your brain? Then an hour later, you're doing a full-on consultation. That really should be a paid consultation. And that's where on Wisdom, we're working really hard to build in the tools where you could offer like a free 15-minute slot to advise. But if they want to go deeper, maybe if they want to have a private conversation, what we're saying with Wisdom is, let's exchange, let's try, let me pay you now. Let's go deeper and, let's turn this into something paid. So we are recognizing the difference between some sort of, like a time boxed free piece of advice versus what is a consultation or more deep mentoring that, should have a monetary value attached to it.
Can I add something right here? Because
Yeah,
I'm
please.
going to say, like today, this already happened to me today. Somebody called, they had a 30-minute slot. It took 45, almost 50 minutes, like you said. And then You know, I love the idea of hot seat coaching because I think it's a way to add value where people can come back and see that you are able to help people even just a short period of time. And then that adds more credibility and value to your services that you offer. So I think that's brilliant. I'll be joining.
Yes, well, Deanna, with you being here, serving as a mentor to women in really vulnerable states, what can you share? Number one, what's a resource that they can help, you can point them to for women who are dealing with intimate partner violence? You know, this is something that is not an easy subject to talk about, and I think it's so important that we have women like yourself, Deanna, available for support. And you know, any words of advice for those women who are just really unsure, kind of nervous, and how would they choose their own mentor in your space?
Okay, great question. So I first of all encourage anybody who is in a situation that is not safe. The very first thing is to know that you do have the power to get out of the situation. There is a hotline, thehotline.org. It is a domestic violence support. It's a national domestic violence hotline. And I would say, since this is broad and national, visit that, make the call. They have the resources. They have the resources to make sure that you remain protected, you and your children, if there are children. I know lots of people who just leave with nothing but their clothes and their kids. Okay, so now once you get through that program and you remove yourself from the situation, they will offer you some support for a short period of time, and then you're going to kind of be on your own to get set up. And that's where I would start seeking a coaching like me, or something where you can tap into some services that will allow you to start the healing process. That's where somebody like me comes in, where we can talk about, okay, let's see where you are, where you want to go, and how we're going to get you there. That would be the next step. So that's basic, but that in a nutshell.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Bobby, any questions from you regarding our mentors here?
Oh, I'm just really amazed that we are featuring 3 awesome people that are, you know, creating supportive, inclusive spaces. And, you know, one of my roles this morning as well as now is, you know, as someone who has some privilege and power, I want to encourage all men to also step up and be supportive, to create safe spaces, to call out any bad behavior or poor behavior, and to help be the change, because we need to empower and voice it to create more inclusion, more safety, and more belonging. So I'm really big on that as well. I think we need to get men into the conversation and get them to start really acting proactively as allies for women. That's a big part of what this month is all about. That's why we had Black History Month. That's why we have Women's History Month, because we need to understand the systemic challenges that people have, including becoming mentors and becoming mentors for others. You know, companies need to create more opportunities for women to mentor other women, and to mentor more women and get them and lift them up. So that's my job, to try to promote that. I'm going to use my influence the best I can. I'll tweet to my happening followers. I'm going to share with my 45,000 people on LinkedIn, because I want people to get that message. And if you are watching this thing and you want to mentor someone, and you're a woman, you want to mentor, comment here, share your thoughts, tag people. Let's get more people in this conversation. We're here every week to share this. And now we're going to move this conversation over to Clubhouse, where if you want to come on stage and talk to these amazing people, I think that'll be great.
Yes, I did share the link to our Clubhouse conversation, and just as we part, because we are still open on Clubhouse, Bobby, if you want to head on over there. Yeah. I sent the link in the LinkedIn feed. Dio, if you can just share, what are three qualities or characteristics, in your opinion, that makes someone a good mentor? What would be those 3 qualities or traits?
I think they need to be a good listener. And sometimes as a mentor, sometimes when the mentee is asking the question, you kind of know where they're going. Like, I'm sure you get that sometimes. When you have the experience and they're asking the question, my brain will be like, I already know the answer, but I have to train myself to listen, ensure that they feel heard, ensure that I'm not just giving them the cookie cutter, that this could be right for you. So I think it's about listening. I also think it's about not being too directional, so guiding them to come to the best outcome rather than telling them. And I'm also going to add the word, I think you need to be empathetic. I often found, especially when I was being mentored, sometimes mentors they'll give the mentee advice, go and do this, but they're not applying the layer of empathy to understand, do you have the resources to do this? Do you have the influence to do this? And I'll just give like one key example, and this is going back to my days in the corporate, where you get assigned a mentor, and they would just tell me, you need to be more visible. You need to be more visible. That was the advice I was given. I wasn't given advice in terms of how do I increase my visibility. So it's like being a mentor saying, go and be more influential. But no, like you need to try and help them break it down and workshop, like how are you going to increase your thing? So I'm going to say being a good listener, guiding them to the right answer, but also having a level of empathy. So don't just tell them, go and be great. Like really try and break down with them, like how are you going to be great?
That was solid. That was very solid. I don't have anything to add to that. I thought it was really interesting what you believe to be, because everybody's going to have their key points about what they feel goes into great mentorship. But I couldn't agree with you on more about those points. Anything else you want to share, Deanna, before we wrap it, or Bobby, before we head on over to Clubhouse? And please go to wisdom.audio. Take that opportunity, guys. If you want to be a mentor, write your bio, make sure it's easy to connect with people. This is the time we need it. A lot of people are rusty. We're just coming out of the pandemic. For people, it's just like we need those life skills, the communication skills, how to talk. Like, oh my God, there's people I can hug and touch people. So I think right now is a very keen time for people to tune into these opportunities. So yes, Deanna.
The only other thing I would have added to that was just the fact that, and I learned this from you, Carmelia, in mastermind class, is that you over deliver, right? No matter what you do when you're mentoring, you know, and I think that's exactly what Dia was saying, you know, in the way you mentor, but you also over deliver. You make sure that you are truly providing more than you promised, really. And because if nothing else for right now, we need it, right?
I love that.
That's awesome. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here for this live stream. Again, if you're seeing this stuff, make sure you retweet it, share the recording. It's going to be on my profile, so you can actually take it on the profile and on LinkedIn and share it with on your profiles. And again, tag people and encourage people to watch this recording, because we learned a lot from the three awesome women that are here. And now we're going to take the conversation over to Clubhouse and give people a chance to come on stage and ask a question. All right. So thanks everybody.
Guys. We'll on
see Clubhouse. You guys next week.
I give you the link. We'll see you there. Ciao.
And we're actually doing. Thanks, guys. And one last thing I'm going to say is that next week we're back here at 2 p.m. March 14th, and we're going to talk about influencer marketing and brand partnerships and how they work for you and your brand. So don't forget that the link will also be available for you in the feed. All right. Thanks, everybody.
I can't wait. I'm going to geek out on that. Bye, guys.
Okay. Bye.